for the measures we have before us this afternoon. This is going to be the hearing only on these. Anybody wishes to sign up, if you can do that under the TV, I'm told, to the left. We do have a quorum online. It doesn't look like we do in person, but I'll go ahead and call the meeting of the House Higher Education Committee to order. We're going to start with Senate Bill 107, if that's okay with our Senate presenters. Okay with Senator Mullis? Senator Strickland.
Bill 107, and I'm working off LC 490418S. Is that what you have? All right. With this bill, we are providing a pathway for students that are coming out of our foster care system to have their tuition and fees, expenses associated with going to college waived. And you'll see in the bill itself, and I'll walk through briefly the bill, but you'll see that we directly provide a waiver for going to our technical colleges. And we provide a strong policy statement asking our Board of Regents to set up a similar program for our university system. The reason the bill does not have university system directly included is the Constitution does not allow us as legislators to have tuition waived in a university system. So we're asking the Board of Regents to follow our lead. And as we're doing with our technical school system, looking at the bill itself, I'll go quickly through it, take any questions anybody has what we're doing with the bill. You will see the requirements that the child, I'm gonna call him a child, a student that leaves the foster care system has to abide by in order to be qualified to get into this program. That's in lines 38 through 64. You'll also see on lines 72 through 85 and lines 86 through 89, we provide guidance to DFACS and also to our technical school system to make sure we provide the support to make sure that families and students know about this program and have everything they need to apply for this program. Finally, you'll see in here that we require students to still apply for any other aid that's out there, so we can still get the federal aid that'll come in first. That way that is still applied. If they're eligible for that, then they can get a waiver of the rest of the costs going to our technical school system. That is my quick presentation on the bill, Mr. Chairman. I can walk through any more parts anybody wants to hear about in the weeds of this, but that's what we're doing with Senate Bill 107.
Thank you, Chairman Strickland. You have a couple of questions. Let me ask first. This is a waiver of tuition fees, room and board. Yes,
that's correct. There are, I think, two technical schools that actually have housing on their campuses as well.
Okay, but if we're asking the university system to match that substantially similar, we again with the constitutional separation, we'd be asking them to do that. Tuition and fees seems to be an easy number to come to. Room and board is a little more nebulous. What does that mean? I mean, they're different, varying meal plans are varying.
Oh, sure.
Have you given any thought to that?
Yeah, one of the things we know with technical school system, we can hone in on that because I think Neil will tell you there's two schools that do have housing. So it's easy to say it with the technical school system, what the bill actually does. It is more complicated if you look at housing, obviously the university system, but what we're doing in the bill, as you'll see on line 27 through 30, we're urging that the Board of Regents adopt a substantially similar tuition waiver program. And so the Board of Regents obviously will come up with their idea of how to handle that. And so it may be that for Board of Regents, they do something different based on which school the kids are going to, or they may not want to waive costs for housing. I'm not sure how that's going to be handled. But the good news is we didn't have to make that call in this bill since it is limited directly to our technical school system.
Okay. Thank you. You have a couple more questions. I'm just going to start in order here. Is that you, Representative Park number 7 in there?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Strickland. I think it's an excellent bill. I did have one question in terms of the tuition fees. Is there an estimate of how much that would cost?
There was a fiscal note that we obtained on the bill, and the conclusion on it was we have no way of directly knowing how much it'll cost because we don't know how many students will take advantage of this. And so there's not a complete estimate on it, but as I shuffle through my notes, there was a number that we were given. The average cost for tuition and fees in our technical school system per student is $3,044. And there's roughly 700 students, my understanding, that could qualify for this program today. So if you start doing the math on this and 20% took advantage of the program, that would be roughly $426,000. So in the grand scheme of things, not a large sum of money. And there's also the other thing that's hard to capture, as you know, is what is the net benefit of investing in a child, right? Going to school, because I think at the end of the day, no matter what it would cost, whether it be through Board of Regents or through our technical school system, the return on investment, setting aside what you're doing for these people, but making them more productive members of society by getting education and going and get jobs and make money and pay more taxes, obviously will probably make us more money at the end of the day too.
I could not agree more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this excellent bill. And my question was actually similar to what Representative Park had, but I think so. So you say it would affect probably 700 students,
that
roughly,
correct?
about is the estimate. I know it's hard to say how many, and they
325 right now, and so, but yeah, about 700 a year max.
So about 700 a year max is there's 325 right now. Does that mean right now that could qualify? But they think overall the estimate's around 700. That's correct.
and they could, and that's mainly for sending them to technical colleges or for all colleges. Maybe I didn't read the bill.
But that number is the students that, based on the requirements of the bill, would qualify to take advantage of the program. So under the current bill, the estimate I gave you assumes they just go to technical school system. I would not
Great.
have an estimate of the cost if they instead went to university school system, since that program has not been set up yet by the Board of Regents. Again, all you do in the bill is urge them to set up a similar program. But I'm sure one of the things they have to consider is what their costs would be for that. I think it's obvious it would be more expensive cost if it was expansive as what we're setting up here.
Great, thank you so much. It's a very, very great bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I'm real interested in tuition bills, so I appreciate you bringing this measure.
Did you have a bill dealing with something like this in the
It's
House?
very similar,
Okay.
very similar about investing in youth.
Yeah.
I have an option for you that I would like for you to think about is, you know, Burt Reeves has an adoption out of foster care bill right now. I think an inclusion of the kids that have been adopted out of foster care to be included in this program would be a good step, because, you know, we don't want to penalize anybody for going above and beyond. So I just food for thought as we go through that process. I will
Well,
tell you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, if you would allow me, I got good news. They are included in this.
Okay.
If you look online, lines 46 and 47, any child that was adopted following their 14th birthday out of the foster care system would also qualify here. There's also a provision in here that deals with adoption services provided by DFACS. A family that took advantage of adoption services through that program would also qualify for this. And so we are including those students as
Fantastic. I
well.
appreciate the measure. And then maybe just on the USG piece, you're probably looking at a little over 5,000 a student versus 37 on technical. Thank
Okay.
you, buddy. Appreciate
you.
the bill.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions from the committee? Would we have anybody online? I'm sorry. There you go. Representative, Chairman Dickey, you're. Are you sitting at number 16? What number? Number 16. There you go. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, thank you for this bill. But my question is along the lines of foster versus adopted. That the foster is a great idea to do those there. I know they age out and are really kind of left on their own. So I think it'd be great. But my question about adopted children, some children are adopted as an infant, very early age by very affluent families, or later on with two families. And so I'm just curious about those type, the need for all adopted children, whether that is your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and so we did put the age requirement following the child's 14th birthday as far as adopted out of our foster care system.
So that would be the only adopted children eligible.
There is another, and I'm actually going to defer, if you could address, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Let me do this. We can, Representative Dickey or Chairman Dickey, do you mind hanging on to that? And the gentleman, I believe, is signed up to speak.
Okay.
Can we come back to you?
Yeah,
if
sure.
He doesn't catch that in his remarks, just out of the interest
Because
of
there's
time.
another section that has another reference to adoption services. I'll make sure it's not kids younger than 14. They can answer that question.
Fair enough. We have one more question. Okay, we're going to do that. I'll go to a second round.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had one additional. I just have one additional question in terms of the tuition fee, particularly with their technical college schools, given that there are currently 17 programs that are tuition free. Is it not true that more likely than not, your estimates may actually be lower? Thank you.
That's correct, because there, as you know, we have so many grants available for these high demand areas. We're trying to get people to get educated in. So you're right, the number could actually go down even more based on that.
Thank you.
Chairman Strickland, that's all the questions we have right now.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Who we got there? Representative Burnell, yeah, you're recognized.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing this bill. There was a principal here in Clayton County who adopted some children out of the state of Texas. And when he adopted them, they were in foster care and they came here and they lived here in Georgia. But the state of Texas said that they could come back and still go to college free. So would your bill allow, if somebody was adopted out of state, would they still be able to come to Georgia and go to college for free? If they were adopted out of foster care?
If it's okay, I'll let the next speaker directly address that to make sure it's answered
Okay.
correctly.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No further questions. I think Mr. Rawlings.
Mr. Rawlings.
We're going to bring you up and hope you can shed some additional light for us.
Thank you. Tom Rollins, Director of the Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services. We greatly appreciate this bill. We already have, we're certainly trying to build out, we have a robust system right now for assisting children who have been adopted out of foster care, for assisting children young people rather, young adults who've aged out. So this bill really adds to that significant. Let me kind of go over some of the questions about who it would affect. We have about 900 families that are receiving adoption assistance for a child. And to address Chairman Dickey's question, these children are adopted out of the foster care system and are considered to be special needs in some way. They may have been adopted in an older age. They may be have some kind of disability, maybe a learning disability, or they may be part of a larger sibling group. So we're not talking about every adopted child, but certainly all of those who've been adopted out of our system and who are receiving adoption assistance. Number two is the children the youth who are in DFACS custody and aging out, certainly. We have 700, the 700 figure, and of course, remember, some of these are overlapping numbers, so I apologize for the vagueness, but we are having a little difficulty pinning this down too because of the various definitions, not of the bill, but how people fall into different categories. There's a lot of overlap. There are about 700 18 to 21-year-olds who are currently in our independent living program. That means that they're receiving some kind of additional housing, some kind of education, maybe just be career skills building, who knows. About 325 of those youth right now are receiving federal education and training vouchers. I'll come back to that in a moment. And then, of course, to address your question about the children who have been adopted and are residing out of Georgia. Any child who has been adopted after the age of 14, who has been in the permanent legal custody of DFACS before the adoption and is now residing out of Georgia can come back to us and take care of this. Take advantage of this. In terms of the numbers, we do anticipate somewhere between 300 and maximum 700 per year. I can tell you right now that of the 325 youth who are currently taking advantage of the education and training vouchers, not very good at, I don't have my got to look at the screen. It's a little small. I apologize. 244 of those are actually attending the university system schools, and then the rest are attending technical college system schools. As was noted earlier, the average cost, not including room and board, of a technical college is $3,044. However, between the education training vouchers and the Pell Grant and other things, we believe a lot of that cost will be covered. So anything additional would be waived. And on the university system side, I appreciate Representative Carpenter's statement. We're thinking that between Pell Grants, when covering room and board, Pell Grants, ETVs, our housing benefits, that kind of thing, that would reduce that significantly. Maybe a maximum in any given year of around 2 million for the university system if they were to adopt this fully. But we do believe that this is a way of demonstrating to children and youth on whom the state of Georgia has already spent a significant amount of money, making sure that they cross that finish line. If you think about it, I've got 3 children myself. One's 17, one's 20, one's 22. The oldest one's a senior at Boston University, and he's about to graduate. Thank goodness. My middle one, he's slacking a little bit on that. So if you can imagine that, many of us are taking care of young adults who are our own children, some of whom are maybe advancing faster through the educational system, some of whom are not. But we all know that they really need our help. And certainly children who've been through the foster care system in one way or another certainly need the help that we can give them to become the young adults that they're intended to be. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you. Chairman Dickey, did that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much. And I appreciate that. And sounds very appropriate.
Thank you. And Chairman Parker, you had some, any further questions for the gentleman? I would just, we do need to move on. I failed to mention, we do have 4 measures to get through today, and this was hearing only. If we need additional testimony next time, we'll do that. If you would, for the chair, focus on making sure that we have, and I know you've already worked it in the Senate, that we're covering the right individuals.
Right.
Of course, there's going to be a cost for this. And when we say waiver, the money's coming from someplace, and we'll work with the TCSG and the university system to make sure that we're not writing checks they have to cash. I mean, this is an investment for the state of Georgia, and a dynamic scoring opportunity we ought to do more of in order to provide for a good overall benefit. So thank you for the information on the finances, but if we'll work with that. If you'll just make sure we're not leaving folks out that should be included. And I realize that's a policy decision, but just provide us information. I don't see any further questions. Representative Thomas, did you wish to share with us some information?
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank Senator Strickland for bringing this bill up. I just wanted to briefly just talk a little bit about the matter. I know we have a couple other matters to get to, but as everyone knows in this room, I did grow up in the foster care system and aged out of foster care. And this is so important when you think about how much money the state puts into a foster child's life, and only about 3% of foster children nationwide graduate from a 4-year college, 3%. And only about 50% of them graduate from high school. So less than 50%. So when you think about those types of numbers, if we can get the 3% that want to go to college and further their life and make something for their life and their children so that they're not caught up in the system again, I think that this bill would really impact the lives of the many foster children and adopted children that we have in the system. And so speaking from knowing a lot of foster sisters and brothers that were in the system and that took advantage, and I took advantage of the little money. We wasn't fully funded. My college wasn't fully funded, But we did get a stipend. And I took advantage of that money and what we could have done to go on if we had more people that took advantage of that money and were fully funded, what we could have done for the system. So when you think about the money and the impact, also think about when you have put so much money into these children, paying foster parents, and then you leave them desolate right at the age of 18 when they turn 18, they're right onto the streets. They don't have anything else. And so they need this funding in order to be upstanding citizens and to be able to do the things that we do every single day. So this bill is really needed. And so I hope that, I know this is hearing only, but when it does come to a vote, I really urge all of my colleagues to please vote for this bill. You can change so many lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And to be clear, the chair hearing only on this is not trying to hear them and put them in a drawer. It's that's the process the committee goes through here, is to hear it, give the committee time to look it over. So thank you very much. I would hope those percentages you make mentioned 3% and 50%. I would hope the opportunity to go on to higher education would increase also the high school graduation rate because they would see a future and an opportunity.
Thank
We
you.
have no one else to signed up for 107. Senator Strickland, I give you a second if you want to close out. But again, the hearing only is not a reflection on the view of the committee toward the measure, but just to get us going here on the day after the day that was before crossover.
No, I will say that you saw a living example of what investment and these kids can do with Representative Thomas. So I think you had good questions. We had some of similar questions in the Senate, but I appreciate your consideration of the bill.
We'll have you back soon. Thank you
All right,
very
thank
much. Senator Mullis, you have something for us? All rise. The senator that chairs rules committee.
Not at all, not at all, not at all. Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to come
Yes, sir.
before an amazing.
Just let me
group
take
of
this mask off just for a second. You remember what I look like when I come to see you later this
Yes,
year?
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
But
Thank you.
I'm honored to be in front of such an esteemed group of people and does a great work for the people of Georgia here in this outstanding committee. I've got a bill here that is easy. It's as delicious as eating peaches from Dickey's Farm, or eating a good fine meal at Oakwood Cafe in Dalton, or living in Alpharetta when Mayor Martin was there. That's how good this bill is. This bill is simply to rename the College and Career Transition to the College and Career Academy. There are many of these colleges and let's see what I call them, college and career academies in many of our counties and towns. They focus on technical education and also college education. This bill simply changes the name, and also this bill additionally, the involved entities must collaborate with the workforce boards nearby in the state, the Department of Economic Development, and other efforts to support new business and new industry coming into a community. They need people. We need to train people. We need educated workforce. So the collaboration is in this bill to make sure it happens. And we change the name to College and Career Academy instead of College Career Transition. That's it. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone on the committee have a question for Senator Mullis?
And there may be some people online to offer testimony, but it's whatever you want to do.
But we're looking online there. We do have, while we're looking online, questions? You're still number 12 down there, right? Yes, sir.
Thank you for bringing this bill, Senator Mullis.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of times, one of my theories is don't take down a fence unless you know why it was put up there. I'm just curious, who named it Transitions and why, but.
Well, I'm
certainly
not
support
really,
the bill.
I don't really know. I have no idea. But I know it should have been adjusted to be the College and Career Academies, because that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly the name on the building. The amount of money that we'll need for this transition will to buy some new letterhead, which I'd say would be under a couple $100. So that's
Thank you for the
financial
bill. It's a
statement.
good one.
I think it's just peachy. Number 4,
That's funny.
Secretary of this committee, Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it not true that when I learned that Senator Mullis was going to be presenting a bill, that I quickly left lunch at Mary Mac's to get back here and be in person for this meeting? This
I'm
afternoon?
honored, but did you bring us something from Mary Mac's? Like
Uh,
some macaroni and cheese or some collard greens or something like that?
I will take you to dinner later, though.
I'd be honored.
But
Thank
you answered my question. I was going to ask about the cost as it relates
Sure.
to, and you did, you just.
It'd be
answered that.
letterhead.
Yes,
is
so
all,
thank you. Thank you.
And envelopes.
Hey, Senator, we do have a couple people that want to testify.
Sure.
Isn't it true, though, that the name on transitions may have actually come forth as over the past years where people actually used the technical college system when it had a different name, even other than that, to transition careers in the past as things move from manufacturing to technology. And isn't it true now that the truth of the matter is in the world of the people needing credentialization and certification for everything, that it is truly people go there as a first option, not a second. While it might be a second career for many, that's fine, but that people go there for the first options to tool up in a first generation innovative technology, right?
Indeed, and thank you for your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Exactly what I needed.
Neil Bidding from the technical, speaking of which he can give us the direct history of that name. Technical College System of Georgia. Mr. Bidding.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and now I lost my notebook. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and just wanted to express our support for the bill. Appreciate Chairman Mullis and his support for the college and career academies and technical education. As you all may know, we've spoken a number of times about the fact that if you look at the job market in the state of Georgia, about 55% require that technical skill set and only 33% make up that description. And so there is a need for more individuals going through technical education, and we have been proud to work with our communities across the state to set up these college and career academies and work with them. And it's a true pipeline for them to come earn a skill set, enter our technical colleges, and then enter the workforce. So thank you.
We're going to count you as for it. Mr. Mark Whitlock online. Take your comments. You have them.
Mr. Chairman, thank
You
you.
are.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with your committee. Chairman Mullis, thank you for your work on Senate Bill 81. I think this really helps the focus of our college and career academies. We in Coweta were the first of those 52 across our state. Our focus in college and career academies helps high school students gain the skills they need to earn higher wages in local jobs by the age of 18. Senate Bill 81 will help us to do that. It renames the office at TCSG, as we've talked about, to focus specifically on college and career academies. And that group, that focus continues to be built out. It maintains the office's management of the accountability system. That's a certification process that's quite robust. It's required of every college and career academy in Georgia, and the standards clearly identify that the college and career academy focuses on a workforce mission. This bill adds proof of increased technical skill attainment to that certification accountability process. And this helps TCSG to ensure that college and career academies work with teams of local economic development professionals to help Georgia attract more investment in local communities so that those students who gain those higher skills have great and more opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions of our speakers? Ms. Senator, you have anything else you want to?
No, just thank you for your consideration. I'm definitely honored, and let me know how I can be of service to you in my little old committee. too,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, sir. We thank you for that. And again,
I also
we-
like to thank Senator Tippins. He got out of his committee too this session.
Yes, sir. We'll do that. And this is a simple measure that we may be able to move on quickly. If we're able to do that, we may try to put together a meeting
Sure,
as
thank
early
you.
as Friday.
Yeah.
We'd invite you back if you can't be
Uh,
here, if you would
I
designate
I
somebody.
can't be here Friday. I'm selling my house.
Well, that'd be fine. If we do that, then if you would just let the chair know
Sure.
somebody on the committee that could put that forward for you.
Well, that young
Rep-
man there from Dalton is supposed to be sponsoring this bill.
Okay, well, we'll let him present that for you then if we are able to get
That'd be
together, we'll
wonderful.
go ahead and move that forward. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Tippins.
That thing, as long as it's germane, I'll do a fine job carrying that thing.
The Germans have nothing.
Hey, be careful of the Germans.
Senator, go ahead.
You have a preference which bill?
Well, I only have a preference. I have a hard stop at 10 till 2 because of an election I have to get to attend. Let's do 187 first,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Is that?
I'll give you the
Super.
quick view of 187.
Yes, sir. I think that may be
In
something
20
we've heard a little bit about before and are akin to. Yes, sir.
In 2019, the legislature extended the time available to students who qualified for the Hope Scholarship to go from 7 years of completion to 10 years completion. But what it did was leave in limbo those students who graduated between 2011 and 2018, they were not included in the 10 years. This bill specifically does a very small carve out for those students in that group who have disabilities as defined by the American with Disabilities Act for reasons that they cannot complete within 7 years. This bill gives them additional time. It's a waiver process, will be handled on each individual basis. So they'll have to qualify with true conditions. They will not be able to qualify with a hangnail. It'll have to be a true disability that has precluded them from being able to take a full course load. I think this is a very limited bill. It's not an increase in cost to the state, does not increase any hours available, just the time in which they can complete their college degree.
Thanks, Senator. Are there questions? Yes, sir. Representative Weedar.
Senator, I just wanted to commend you for bringing this forward. I know you've been working hard on this and it affects some people in my community, and it's something that's very dear to me as well. So I just appreciate you bringing it. It's going to affect people who really need this assistance and the time to get through school. So thank you very much for the measure.
I'm so appreciative of those comments. I would appreciate you carrying the bill in the House.
I'd be honored.
Thank you, sir.
You have one more question, Secretary of the Committee, Representative Benham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
bringing this bill. But my question is relating to the disability. Exactly what would be defined as a disability? Is it, I know someone may be in a wheelchair, but someone maybe with heart conditions that's able to get around really good. What would be defined as a disability?
If they qualify under any of the classifications within the Americans with Disabilities Act, then they will have a chance to bring their case to Georgia Student Finance, who will look at this on an individual waiver basis and see if there's legitimacy to the claim. Certainly not everyone who has a disability would get additional time because they may not be precluded from being able to take a full course load. But if you've got someone that's been in serious injuries, I served on that board for 7 or 8 years. They had a waiver policy at that time. This would be a very small number of students. It was brought to me as a request by a family from Athens, Clark County, whose daughter, I think, was in an automobile accident and could not take a full course load and finish. I think they were maybe limited to 7 or 8 hours a semester.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's a great point you make here, because the assumption is here that somebody that qualifies under the American Disability Act, this doesn't mean to say that they can't go to school and do it just like everybody else can. For those that think we're somehow saying folks with a disability aren't capable of doing it, but there are certain disabilities acquired in the specific case that you made with an injury that happened during those 7 years that limited to their course load. So this is in no way, shape, or form meant toward any kind of detrimental thought or of any nature toward somebody that qualifies under the Americans with Disability Act. But in specific cases, there are examples, and we do not want to leave this individual short of a scholarship, a Hope Scholarship that was earned and should be able to be used. Thank you for bringing the bill. I did. We have one more question online. Dr. Clark, Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Senator, for bringing the bill. I just wanted to clarify, and my question is probably similar to my friend Representative Bentley's question. Would this also cover students whose disability may not be a physical disability? And will it cover students who might be suffering from what the ADA covers under mental disabilities, but they are in school, but they might need a little bit more time?
The bill is drafted specifically for those disabilities as defined by the American Disabilities Act.
Yeah, Dr. Clark, I don't know if you have, if you were able to get the electronic copy of the bill on lines 31 and 32. It's specifically the Americans with Disability Act, 42 USC section 12102, which prevents or substantially inhibits full-time activity. If that non-physical disability would be deemed to prevent or substantially inhibit full-time disability, I hate to draw a what if, but if they had a disability and had some sort of a mental, I don't know, I'm a novice here, I hate to characterize it, but a mental break that they had to take time off because of that disability, I think that might be deemed to avail itself of this waiver. Would you agree, Chairman?
The people that we have at Georgia Student Finance are very familiar with this. And
Right.
They know how to separate the difference between people that are looking for an easy ride and the people that truly are
Yes, sir.
precluded from attending.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for that clarification. I just was asking because I know that some of the mental impairments that are covered by the ADA include things like depression and bipolar disorder, which are things that could potentially require a little bit more time for students to go through class. I just wanted to know if the bill would cover those students as well. And unfortunately, I do not have an electronic copy. It would not open in my calendar invite for some reason. So, but thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you don't have any further questions on that, so we thank you for 187, and we'll let you move on to 204.
Okay, I'm very excited and honored to be able to bring LC 490443S. I think that's the LC number y'all are working on.
Yes, sir.
So, those of you that know me know since I've been in the legislature, my primary passion has been education, both K-12 and higher ed. This bill provides the nexus and the connection, the smooth, seamless connection between high school and technical college system for a group of people who probably would not be termed your ordinary citizen. What this bill does is grant the technical college system to be able to grant a high school diploma. This is a pilot program that will last for 5 years. It will probably require some waivers. The bill makes provision for the waivers, and I've been in consultation with the technical college system, and they're on board with this. I've been in consultation with DOE, Georgia Student Finance, any interested parties that may want to have input into it. But what we're trying to do is to grant a seamless connection between those people. First, let me address the high school students eligible for this program have to be 16 years old, attain the age. But we all know that 16 years old is a magic age of when people can drop out of school. Now, you're going to have two different kinds of high school students. Number one, you're going to have people who know what they want to do. They want to pursue applied technology education. They're not a member of the cliques or whatever in high school. They want to get about their life. So if they're 16, if they meet the requirements, if they've met the requirements of Senate Bill 2 that provides for the 9 academic courses, then they can go to the technical college. And upon completion of a diploma, of an associate degree, or certain certifications, they will be deemed to have fulfilled the requirements of high school graduation. That's currently under dual enrollment. That same mechanism, I'm concerned about those students in high school that have the academic ability, but they may be different types of students. They may not fit in. They may not fit in the culture. They're not in the cliques. They're not in the social groups. And some of them, quite frankly, we've all seen it when we were in school, kids that are ostracized and absolutely hate the environment of a high school campus, and they want to get out and they want to get on with their lives. This bill is designed for them as well. Those students, number one, the ones that know exactly what they want to do and get the shortest pathway there, are those students that say, I hate high school. I want to be in a different environment, but I want to do it in technical education. This opens the door for them, and they transition. They can enroll into the technical college. They have to meet the admission requirements of the technical college. And this, I specifically have made this clear. I don't intend this to be a dumping ground for students, for high schools to put their non-productive students somewhere to get rid of them. They have to meet the admission requirements. When they come into TCSG, they're going to have to meet the attendance requirements and also the discipline requirements. It also addresses a huge issue that I think these are the kids that are left out and left behind and have fallen through the cracks. Those people who have dropped out of high school, who don't have a high school degree, and in all likelihood, they're not going to get one because they're not going to go back to the environment that they dropped out from for many different reasons. Sure, they can go get a GED, but a GED is very limited in the value that it brings. I'm trying to get this to where they can go to a one-stop shop, the technical college system. They can, if they lack courses that would meet the requirements of Senate Bill 2, the technical college is already set up to teach these courses, and they do in their adult education programs. So those students between 16 and age of 21, when they'd fall under adult education, it gives them a place to go. They don't have to go one place to get a high school diploma, somewhere else to get technical training. They can set up and go. The people that I've talked to in the technical college system, matter of fact, had one technical college president told me, he said, I want my institution to be one of the ones in the pilot. He said, because this is the greatest need that we have. The last group of people that it addresses are those that are over 21 who do not have a high school diploma. Instead of going back to technical college and getting training and a GED, they can go back and get a high school diploma and technical training. I think this is a great program. I'm not going to tell you that all the bugs are worked out, because quite frankly, when you make this kind of transition, you can't anticipate all the bugs on the front end. But since we're already doing the same program in effect in Senate Bill 2, I do not see the reason we cannot open the door, and those people who are currently having to get a GED, we can get them a high school diploma, get great education. It benefits the students, it benefits the society, it benefits our economy. I'm excited about the bill, as you can tell. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I have a couple. Number 15, is that Representative Washington? Who we got there? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Tipton, I just wanted to make a positive comment. I think it's a very creative bill, and I want to thank you for bringing it. And I think the idea of rescuing some folks who are not going to finish high school for whatever reasons and helping them move on to a productive life and developing their skills in the technical college is a great idea. And I applaud you for bringing this bill.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Number 8, Representative Cox.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for bringing this bill, Senator Tippins. I just had a question for clarification on line 124 through 26, where it says the Technical College System of Georgia and the State Board of Education shall be authorized to waive or provide variances to state rules, regulations, policies, and procedures. Could you just tell me what those variances could be?
Well, under Senate Bill 2, and I don't know whether you're familiar with that or not, but to be able to meet the requirements of a high school diploma, they had to work, the technical colleges in the high schools had to work out articulation agreements as to which courses would meet the requirements of high school graduation. And so it's an articulation issue. We've involved, I mean, in this, it has a provision to involve juvenile justice system, DOE, everybody that has a stake in these people and these students. They'll all be at the table in this process, but in this, you know, I've noticed in education, if you're going to help kids, you're going to have to take some barriers out of the way along the way. And we've got barriers, and this bill tries to take down barriers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Tippins. I think it's a great innovative piece of legislation. I was wondering, because I think a year or two ago, we passed legislation to limit dual enrollment. Does that impact the opportunity for this pilot program or for the ability for high school students to attend?
Not really. I
colleges?
mean, there's going to be some people that want to continue dual enrollment. It may take some people that are currently under dual enrollment. They may want to, for the efficiencies of their time, they may want to enroll directly in the high school to only have one place that they have to go. That will be possible. There's not a mandate that any of this Senate Bill 2 kids would have to transition, but these are for the people that want to transition, the people who want to get an education as quickly as possible in a field that's in high demand.
Carpenter.
Thank you so much, Senator, for bringing this bill. Question for you, the money. So on the money side of it, who gets the money? Does the local schools get the money for the bill? For the kid? Does the technical college get the money for the kid? Because all the time when you're breaking down barriers in education, 9 times out of 10, or actually 12 times out of 10, it comes back to who's getting the money. So I'd be interested to know in this scenario, does the state money go with the kid to the technical college, or does the original school get the money?
My anticipation is, and of course, this is one of the issues that exactly has to be worked out, but I would say in a total outlay, there may be a net savings in this. And that's one of the issues that we faced when we looked at overhauling dual enrollment and the affordability of it in the state. Again, these are for those students that are very focused. I know in the hearings that we had on dual enrollment, so we had people say, oh, don't do away with full funding of dual enrollment. This is like 4 years of exploratory, and then they can go to college and they can figure out what they want. I think there'll be efficiencies in the students' time. There'll be efficiencies in money. If you look at the tuition structure, and y'all know what tuition structure at technical college is, in my mind, it's the best return on investment that we have in investing in our economy. We have businesses all over the state of Georgia that need trained people in technical education. And that's what we're trying to do, is meet those needs.
Okay, last question, Secretary of the Committee, Patty Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Tippin. Just to add on to what Representative Carpenter just mentioned, as it relates to the finances, you addressed that question for me. But on the technical college side, the technical college system, you can enroll into a certificate program, diploma program, or associate degree program. With this legislation, will there be a requirement of which program these students will be asked to enroll in after leaving high school?
Well, I think what they're going to be probably encouraged to enroll in, just from a standpoint of helping the student make long-term decisions in their own life. Clearly look at the high demand areas in the state of Georgia. We have the high demand career initiative. We have several feels that that the state already pays for the tuition. So in that, but I think all of this, I mean, there's a very specific counseling regimen that if these students do it, they sit out, they have to have someone sit down with them and go through and say, this is how this is going to work. Are you fully aware of it? And have a counseling session with a student and their parent or guardian, if they have a parent or guardian. But in our society today, we have a lot of 16-year-old people that are on their own. And they've come to the realization they have to have more education than they have to be able to be successful in today's economy.
We have one more question, Representative.
I don't have a question. I really have a statement because my questions have been addressed. But Senator Tippins, line 60 through 63, I was relieved to see that some of the words or wording was deleted, especially talking about the standards, public versus private. So thank you very much for deleting some of the language in that section.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
I don't think there's a differentiation of definition of what good education is between public and private. I think we need to have standards. We need to have reality in our whole education system.
Thank you, Senator. I see no more questions. I thank you for bringing these items. We'll take those under advisement, and I'll get back with you, and we'll get right back to them either on Friday or early next week.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time,
If there's no,
committee and Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir. If there's no further business, we did have no one signed up to speak to those. If there's no further business before the committee, will stand adjourned without objection. And without objection, we're adjourned.